I call this meeting of the Bastrop Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called and that a notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. I want to welcome everybody here. Thanks for taking your time to come out in the middle of a day, and like all those smiles that we see here in the audience. At this time, we'll go to number 2. We will consider approval of appointment to the position of the Board of Trustees, Place 5, and swearing in of same. Before we entertain a motion at this time, I'd like to kind of bring the board and the public up to date. Mr. Peterson did turn in his letter of retirement and 19 years of service, which was greatly appreciated and respected, and he definitely set the bar there for all of us to possibly consider here in the future. And with that, Mr. Peterson had been working for about 6 to 8 months with a hectic travel schedule. He's very blessed with 2 talented sons, him and his wife, and they're helping manage them and so forth. And Mr. Peterson was also saying, hey, I'd really like to be instrumental in a replacement to finish serving out my term. And so I know Glenn talked to a handful of individuals about filling his term. I think they were possibly as busy as he was. And he did end up, as we all kind of put our heads together, came with one, which we'll consider a motion here in just a little bit. We did have one other member that some constituents from the community reached out to me and said, hey, would you interview an individual that may consider being on this board as well. And so we had a game plan for that the officers of the board would get together with anybody expressing interest at that time. Ms. McClure and myself were able to meet with that individual and visit with them as well. And so with that said, Ms. McClure and I kind of came to the conclusion jointly that Mr. Peterson's recommendation was probably the thing to honor and the direction that we feel the board should go. Ms. McClure, would you like to add anything to that?
I think we're always happy when anyone in our community is willing to come and serve on the board. And so it was very enlightening to know that someone was interested to step up. So, but we also know that Mr. Dillon has shown an interest for quite a while, and and with his qualifications, that it would be the right thing to do. So.
Thank you, Ms. McClure. And I've also had some conversations with Mr. Dillon, quite a few, and definitely checked some references that I went out and sought on my own for Mr. Dillon, because I think everybody sitting around these tables here, it's very, very important to understand the time commitment and the responsibility of a board member. Also your role. I think the public sometimes wants us to fix water fountains and you know, bullying and certain things like that, and you know, we work real hard not to cross over into the administrative line. And so with that, is there any more discussion from the board before we entertain a motion? All right, this time I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion per Mr. Peterson's recommendation as well as my own. I move that the board appoint and swear in Mr. Chris Dillon to the position of trustee, Place 5, until the next general election.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Chris, congratulations. At this time, we were very honored and privileged that Judge Poppy had time to join us here today to swear Mr. Dillon in. And so, Judge, thank you very much for taking your time. If Chris, y'all please come forward. And
well, my pleasure and an honor. I appreciate you joining us up here because, as Mr. Richard said, this is a big commitment and a dedicated spouse as well.
Yes.
So. You raise your right hand, sir, and repeat after me. I, Christopher Matthew Dillon.
I, Christopher Matthew Dillon.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute the duties.
That I will faithfully execute the duties.
Of the office of school board
Bastrop Independent School District in the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
protect,
protect,
preserve, and defend the Constitution
preserve, and defend the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and of the state of Texas.
and of the state of Texas.
So help me God. Thank you, sir. God bless you.
Yeah.
I think they have a seat for you right over here.
It's nice and warmed up for you there.
Yeah, good. So when Mr. Dillon comes to my court, I was raised on Gunsmoke like many of y'all were, so I often had to catch myself to keep from grinning when I say, Mr. Dillon, do you have a comment? Sheriff is in town.
That's right. Judge Poppy, thank you very, very much for your time. And Chris, the other Chris, thank you for coming and your support. And please, anybody that calls you with any questions or concerns, now you got someone you can pass them on to. Right, exactly. Well, great. Thank you very much. Mr. Dillon, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. The time is 1:06, and the board will now convene into closed session as allowed by Texas Government Code 551.071 and 551.074 to interview the candidate for superintendent of schools position. We'll be meeting in the superintendent's office. Okay, it is now 2:57, and the board will now convene. Let me start over. Turn the page. All right.
Yes, we are.
It is now 2:57 p.m., and the board will reconvene in open session and will now entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the board name Barry Edwards as the lone finalist for the position of superintendent of Bastrop Independent School District.
We have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Congratulations.